What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day the Other Way. Don't know what season, don't know what episode, but I think it's called Can Buy Me Love. Now let's get into Corona and Inky. So Corona and Inky are one of my favorite couples for this season of 90 Day the Other Way. I think it's interesting that this Black woman is going to be moving to Iceland, where there is very few Black people. And she's going to be dating a man who has never dated seriously before and has never dated interracially before. So I'm really invested kind of in the Corona and Inky story. So she's packing up her stuff. Her friends drop her off at the airport and she's off to Iceland. So we finally get to see Inky. He's a little bit more animated than I thought he was going to be. I don't know why I thought he was going to be kind of stiff and awkward, but he's kind of sort of a party animal because he tells us that in the city that he lives in, I think it's pronounced Reykjavik, I'm not quite sure. It's like a party town. He says it's a party town, and they show us a whole bunch of clips of him, partying, having a good time with his friends. And so he is really animated, and I'm glad about that because I really thought he was going to be kind of like a dud, but he seems to be pretty active, has a social life, has a ton of friends, etc. So he talks about how Reykjavik, even though it's a party town, it is a very small town because you could easily date someone that you could possibly be related to. In fact, the dating apps in Iceland are designed such that you can check to see if you are potentially related to your possible match. That's how much of a small town this is, that you could possibly be dating someone that you're related to. And the dating apps, I don't know if you have to submit your DNA or I don't know your family history. I don't know how you do it, but somehow or another, their dating apps have an option or a function where you can see if you're potentially related to your potential match. So Inky tells his friends about Corona and what Corona means to him and how he feels about her. And his friends are joking around, saying, well, are you going to be proposing to her? And Inky says that even though he's really into Corona, he even says that she checks all of his boxes. Okay, that's what Inky says, that Corona checks all of his boxes, and that what he really liked about her is that she pursued him. She showed a strong interest in him, which is great. If the man also has the interest in the woman, but the woman is the one that's a little bit more forward, I can see how that can make, that could feed into a man's ego and make a man feel good. So she says that she checks all of his boxes. And this is his very first serious relationship, which kind of reminds me of Sarper and Shekinah, but Sarper is nowhere near, but Inky is nowhere near on the level of a Sarper, but it's these two women who kind of have to teach these men what it's like to be in a serious relationship. And I think that's a whole lot of work, but somebody's got to do it, right? If eventually these men are going to settle down, someone has to be that first woman that teaches them, what it's like to be in a serious committed relationship. So things are moving pretty quickly for Corona and Inky, but Inky says he's nowhere near at the point where he would even consider asking Corona to marry him. Now, I understand that they have to be living, they feel for each other. They got feelings for one another, I guess. And I understand that for this relationship to work, they have to spend a lot of time together. They can't really do this long distance thing, forever. But I think it's really interesting how Corona is willing to move all the way from America to Iceland in order to develop this relationship without even knowing, without having any kind of guarantee that it could lead to anything permanent. She's like completely changing her life, leaving everything behind. It's even interrupting her studies, I think. I think she's studying to be a midwife, and she's going to have to find a school in Iceland or do some online. I don't know what she's going to do, but it's interrupting her education because she can't complete her program here in America because she's going to be moving to Iceland and she's going to have to find a way to complete it over there. So this must be really serious for Corona. I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I was her sister or if I was her BFF. I don't know if I would really encourage her to do this because it's such a major move. for something that it's not even a guarantee. And then we see him talking to his friends saying, oh no, I'm not going to be marrying her anytime soon. But do you understand the sacrifices that she's making, to be with you? I think they should have dated long distance. I think they should have dated long distance, visit each other a couple of times a year. And then if it got to the point where they couldn't live without each other, then think about getting married and then one of them moved to the other's country. But to do it when you're not really sure what the future holds, she's taking a really big risk. Moving on to Statler and Dempsey. So Statler is supposed to be selling her car because her and Dempsey are going to be, road tripping, I guess, through Europe. They're going to be doing this van life thing in Europe, and they're going to be living out of a van, going from country to country. I'm not exactly sure what the end goal is, to eventually settle down somewhere in Europe or what, I don't know. So in order to fund this van life, Statler took out a $20,000 loan to pay for this van, to pay for her portion of the van, and she was also supposed to be selling her car. So she goes to the car dealership and the guy offered her $18,000 for a 2017, whatever it is. And I was like, wow, $18,000. I don't even think this car was a luxury car. He offered her $18,000. I thought she was going to get like $5,000, $6,000, maybe $10,000 at the most. But $18,000 for a 2017 car. This car must be in absolutely mint condition. So I'm thinking, it looks like she was going to sell her car, but then when the guy came out with the offer, she changed her mind and wasn't going to sell it. So I'm thinking, okay, you're walking away from $18,000, as far as what they tell us. You're walking away from $18,000, which is supposed to help you live out of this van in Europe. But it made no sense to me, like why she would do that. I didn't understand why she didn't want to sell the car, unless she's holding on to the car because she has doubts about staying in Europe and thinks that eventually she'll come back. So she also tells us how she is going to be the sole provider for her and Dempsey because she can still work remotely. So she's still going to be getting income coming in, which is going to help a lot with their van life. But Dempsey quit her job. So they're both going to be depending on Statler's income. So after that, we see her packing. She has to try to fit everything in only 2 suitcases because there's very limited space in this van. And Dempsey texts her while she was getting ready, I guess, because she's supposed to be leaving the following day. So Dempsey texts her saying that they can't afford the van, that they're short on the van. Now, Dempsey had expected Statler to sell her car, and part of that $18,000 was going to go towards the purchase of the van. But Statler didn't sell her car. Y'all, I was confused, okay? When it comes to money and finances, I get lost in the sauce because Statler took out a $20,000 loan, plus she was going to sell her car for $18,000. So I thought the $20,000 was going to go towards the helping buy the van because she was going to pay her portion and Dempsey was going to pay her portion. So I thought the $20,000 was somehow going to go into the buying of the van. And I'm thinking, how much is this van? Maybe it's like an RV. I guess so it's an RV, right? Duh. So it's an RV, and I can see an RV costing, $20,000 and upwards. Okay, I can definitely see that. So Dempsey tells Statler that they are short on the money for the van. And then Statler tells Dempsey that she didn't sell her car, and Dempsey was like, you were supposed to sell your car. That was the agreement. And then Statler says, no, that was never the agreement for me to sell my car. So there's a whole bunch of confusion about what was supposed to be done with this car. Statler saying one thing, Dempsey saying another. So I'm not exactly sure what the agreement was because we weren't there. We weren't privy to that agreement when it was made. So now they're short $6,000, and Dempsey blames it on Statler for not selling her van. And Statler is like, well, I would have taken a loan to cover my portion completely or whatever the situation is. But in my head, I forgot to convert pounds into dollars. So when Dempsey was talking about it's going to cost X amount for this van, she was talking in pounds. And Statler was translating everything in dollars. Or, she said 20,000 pounds, Statler's thinking $20,000, but she didn't do the conversion. So 20,000 pounds is probably slightly more in US dollars. So she didn't get enough. Either way, bottom line, miscommunication about who was supposed to do what. they don't have enough money for the damn van. So now Statler's worried. And Statler, she's got anxiety and ADHD and all of these issues. And so now she's freaking out because she's going to be going to Europe, not knowing whether or not they're even going to have a car to be living out of, or RV or a van to be living out of, because they don't have enough money. Now, I'm going to need them to get it together. Y'all are going to be two young women tracking through Europe. Okay, y'all need to get it together. Y'all need to get the communication straight. Y'all need to get the conversions of pounds to dollars straight, because y'all don't want to be stranded in the middle of nowhere in a country that neither one of you is familiar with. So I'm going to need y'all to get it together quickly, because, y'all to be out in the middle of nowhere playing around and something's going to happen to y'all. So I'm going to need them to get it together quickly. Moving on to Josh and Lily. I'm also invested in Josh and Lily. Lily to me is a character. She's very interesting to me. So Josh is packing up. He's leaving for China. His parents drop him off at the airport. They have a really heartfelt goodbye, because he is leaving his whole life behind in America to go start this new life with his wife, because I think they are legally married, Lily. So in China, he won't be able to work for a while until he gets his immigration papers, I guess, situated. And what I found interesting was that this is Josh's third marriage. Y'all, I need to know how y'all do it with these multiple marriages, because I know one thing's for sure and two things for certain. If I found myself not married for whatever reason, there's no way in hell I would ever get married again. That would never, ever, ever happen. So the people that can do it multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times or more, I don't see how y'all can do it. I don't understand. So Lily tells us, because she's in China and she's getting their house ready, right? So she has spent a grip on these house renovations. And I'm not understanding exactly why she felt like she needed to go so far with these house renovations, because Josh doesn't seem like someone who's accustomed to a certain type of lifestyle. Okay, he seems like he'll be just fine in a regular schmegular apartment, a regular schmegular house. I'm not understanding why Lily felt the need to spend 500,000 US dollars, okay, to renovate this home. I didn't get it. And I'm like, are you really doing this for Josh? Or are you doing this for yourself? Because Lily seems like someone who likes to better things in life. Josh seems like it doesn't matter to him one way or the other. So Josh is really worried about the fact that he won't be able to work. And even though I know it's temporary, I don't know why he doesn't understand that him not working is only temporary. But for whatever reason, it's freaking him out. I guess to not have an income can be very scary. You're self-sufficient, you've been working your whole life, you made your own way, and now you're going to have to depend on your wife in a foreign country. You'll have no control over the money that's coming into the household. You're completely dependent on her. So I understand his fear, but I felt like he was taking a little bit too far, because he was even asking the taxi driver, so what are the gender roles in China? What do you think about men who don't work and the women that support them? And, going on and on and on. And I was like, why are you talking to the stranger about these things? Which to me, it just showed his level of anxiety. The fact that he's just willing to talk to anybody about it. Like he's looking for some type of comfort or reassurance that this is okay. He's not going to find it, because the taxi driver was like, no, a man's got to work in China. A man needs to support his wife. He needs to be the provider. So I'm pretty sure that stressed him out even more. But Josh and Lily's story, I'm very much interested in. Then we get to Shekinah and Sarper. Not interested. Not interested in Shekinah and Sarper. Absolutely zero interest, because I know exactly what their story is. I know how things are going to play out. These people are going to fight like cats and dogs throughout the whole season. They're just kind of remind me so much of Jasmine and Gino. Always constantly bickering, fighting, arguing, just, if you give them an option, do you want peace or do you want friction? And they want to go for friction. They choose friction all the time. So Shekinah, she arrives at Sarper's apartment. The apartment's a damn mess. Okay, she's upset about the bottles, which he has collected over the years throughout his travels. He's collected all of these liquor bottles. And he had made the mistake of telling Shekinah at some point that, when he was enjoying the liquor from these bottles, he was never alone. He was always in the company of a woman. So Shekinah associates those bottles with the women of his past and thinks that he's keeping them as mementos to remind him of these women that he's been with in the past. So Shekinah doesn't want him to have these bottles at all whatsoever. She wants him to get rid of them, which he still hasn't. I don't know how long they've known each other, but it's been a while and those bottles are still there. So when she came to his apartment, she still saw them there. So she was really pissed off. Okay, we get it. We understand. Now, why didn't he clean up? If you don't want to throw away the bottles because, they remind you of your travels, your women, the places, whatever, why didn't you clean up, Sarper? Why didn't you clean up? Because the apartment was a mess, a complete mess. I don't think it was on the level of a Gino mess, but it was a mess. Why don't these men want to, clean their homes before their women who've traveled long and far from faraway lands come over? Why don't you clean up? I don't understand. And his house wasn't even that bad, so it would not have taken him that long to clean up. But she was disappointed in the bottles, and she was also disappointed in the condition of the apartment. Like, he just didn't care. So as they're arguing about the bottles, she tells him, well, what if I had something from an ex that I kept with me over the years and refused to let go of? You wouldn't like that, would you? In fact, here you go. So then she pulls out this binder, which she says contained a 143-page letter from one of her ex-boyfriends. And she just dumps it on him and walks away. Of course, he's upset. He doesn't like that, but what's good for the ganders, good for the geese, whatever. So, he's upset, of course. I don't really care. I'm not interested in Shekinah and Sarper because they're going to fight. She's going to act like she wants to go back home, that she's over it, that she's done with him. And then at the tell-all, she's going to be back into her Stepford wife mode, and she's going to be supporting him and defending him against the whole entire cast. Everybody's going to be throwing daggers at him, and she's going to be taking those daggers for him. So Shekinah and Sarper are not interested. And that is my review of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Subscribe to my channel, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.